All right. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Solidity Insurance Group team call. My name is Marisa Maggio, and I'm super excited to be on today's team call as it is officially halfway through the year. Today's July 3rd of 2025 already. But each and every week I sit back and think, who can really add value to the team? And it's always somebody different in a different area. Now, the person we have on with us today is near and dear to my heart, and there's a lot of reasons for that. And one of the couple of key things I do want to point out about this individual before we bring her on is this is somebody who, when she first came into the industry, she didn't seem nervous to like come up to people, ask questions, like go to the events and get uncomfortable and just essentially, just as you should, because we're all in a business, act like a business owner. So, without further ado, we have Desiree Blas on with us today. Des, how are you doing?
I am doing so great. And that's why I love this industry because you meet such amazing people. And I know we're at like opposite ends of the country. Like I'm in Washington State. You guys are in what, Boston? I got to go visit Boston, but you meet people and they become like lifelong friends. It's kind of crazy. We bond through what we're doing in the business and it's always great to be with you guys. But and Heather, I freaking see Heather at every event and I just feel like I'm talking to my family. So I'm really excited to be here and anything I could do to help out.
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, thanks for taking the time to be on with us. We don't take it lightly. And Des, for those couple of people out there who haven't had the chance to meet you, tell us a little bit about Desiree. Who are you? What were you doing prior to insurance? And what
Mhm.
got you involved in the industry?
Yeah, and so I have been here a little over 3 years. My first year, I didn't really take this industry seriously. I kind of had that plan B. So I came from real estate. And you know what's so funny is that I just got an email that it was like, hey, it's time to renew your real estate license. And I was at a crossroads. I was like, do I want to renew this license? I don't really use it outside of referrals, but I was like really in love with real estate when I first started. And the thing is, with the market, it goes up and down. And that's why I love the life insurance industry. And Sean says this all the time, it's recession proof. You're always going to have the ability to make money because everyone's going to die, as morbid as it sounds. And that's what we train agents to do. It's, hey, let's ask a challenging question because we're all going to die. And the person that you're helping over the phone needs to realize like they're going to die at some point. They need to make a decision to leave something behind to their family. So I was in real estate. I was doing well. I mean, well, right? And any type of commission-based sales, I think 90% of first year commission based agents quit because it is challenging. Your income is predicated on your work. You don't get paid by the hour. And it took me 7 months to sell my first home in real estate. And I was grinding. I was cold, cold door knocking, right? I was passing out flyers at Starbucks and every small business, and I was freaking cold calling people that were screaming at me and like it was a grind. And then I finally, sold my first home and I was like, wow, okay, that was cool. And I started to just pick up the traction and it got to the point where like I think my best month in real estate, I sold 5 homes and that was wonderful. And maybe I made 40 or 30 to 40 grand in that month, but that was all I made the rest of the year. Right. And so it was challenging because I was like, man, I really love this, but like it's not stable. It's not sustainable. And I was still living at my parents' house and I was still broke, right? I wasn't bringing in consistent income. And I saw Family First Life was posted with somebody I went to high school with. And they didn't, and here's a key thing too, guys, like they didn't even make that post. It was a repost. But the thing is that I saw they were
What is it?
always posting. And I was like, I was at a dark moment, I guess. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I say I'm a real estate agent, but I'm not making money. And then I slid up and I said, hey, what's this? Right. And that's why the power of consistency that really breeds your credibility. Because it doesn't matter. Cool. If Heather posts something and maybe she gets 5 likes, but she posts something every single day, that person who saw it a year ago might not have been ready, but a year and a half later, 2 years later, they slide up to say, hey, Heather, I see that you're crushing it. I mean, you've been doing this for a long time. And it breeds trust. And then now they're ready. And that could be your next Hall of Fame producer, but you have to believe in yourself and trust the process. So that's why I love the power of social media. I personally don't like being on social media, but I love the power of it because that's where I came from. And that's how I started off. And I had somewhat of a slow start. I wasn't that consistent or disciplined because I kept holding on to my plan B. And then, yeah, and then I came in the industry. I started meeting wonderful people like you. I started going to in-person events. I met Sean. I met, Marissa had me under her wing. And like, I was like, this is it. Like, I got to ditch that plan B and I got to put all my eggs in this basket and go from there. And the only reason why I keep my real estate license is because I have people who ask me for referrals and I get like paid a little bit just from referring them out, but I don't really do anything real estate wise at all. But I do love commission-based sales because you get to pick what you're worth, right? In the beginning. And so can you put like a, I don't know, put a N in the chat if you're a new agent. And I say new like your first 90 days, just so I know who I'm speaking to. And if not, totally fine. Yeah. And then who knows, maybe a new agent will come across this video. But if you're here, your ROI is going to be low because you lack skill. But you lack skill. And so some people are like, man, I'm seeing Desiree have 40K months and 35K months. I didn't start like that. I think it was like maybe 5,000 my first month. And then it was 10,000. I went back down to five. And in that process, your first year is so important because you learn the most lessons about yourself that you get to increase your ROI if you don't give up. And so that's why I tell people don't judge whatever chapter I'm at if you're at chapter one, because I was at a chapter one and I had a different start than everybody else. And we all have different starts, but we have the same playing field. We have the same freaking license and we have the ability to blow past any capped income, any ceiling, but that takes time and grit and sacrifice. And so that's why I love commission-based sales and especially the life insurance industry because you get to pick where you end up, right? It might not be pretty right now, but it's necessary for that sacrifice to keep moving. And so super passionate about it, super passionate about life insurance in general. Because you could be commission-based sales doing pest control and solar, and there's nothing wrong with that, but how many people need pest control services? How many people need, I'm in Washington where it rains 9 months out of the year. Am I going to make that much money in solar here? No. So like I like to look at where can I make the most money possible in a recession-proof industry, and it's life insurance. So man, I'm just like going off anyways. Yeah,
No,
whatever questions you got. Yeah.
that was awesome because like thank you for just like ripping because I think that
Yeah.
that's when like the most like authentic stuff does come out when we're just like talking, right?
Yeah.
And I love how you talked about, your first year you weren't necessarily all in. You kind of had that plan B. You were like, well, maybe I'll do this. I really like real estate. And you didn't fail to mention it took 7 months to sell your first home. Like you
Mm-hmm.
said, you grinded. I can only imagine you worked your butt off those 7 months to get that commission. But like you said, it wasn't stable. It wasn't like you knew every month I'm going to have this 30, 40 grand coming in and this is
Mm-hmm.
stable income that I can depend on each and every month. Now, when you were here for about a year, you were kind of looking at the industry, and I'm sure you heard Sean, you heard Marissa, you heard
Yeah.
you heard everybody talking about recession proof, recession proof. Like everyone is going to die. It is morbid, but it is the truth. Like,
Right.
guys, we are sitting in the best vehicle possible. So you decided to kind of ditch that plan B, right? And you were like, at
Mm-hmm.
that point, you're all in because I feel like when you ditch the plan B, like that's when you're actually all in. Until that,
Right.
you're not all in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also talking about consistency within the process. You talked a bit about social media, right? It's kind of
Yeah.
weird if somebody posts like, like once every 6 months and then like they pop up and it's like, well, I mean, have they actually been like doing it for the last 6 months? Like, where did
Right.
they go, right? You're missing, right? That's
Yeah.
weird, right? So it almost does the opposite effect, guys. It's going to make people not trust you because they're like, well, why isn't she putting out any more videos or why isn't he posting about it anymore? It
Right.
looks weird to your audience, right? So stay consistent. And just like how social media, consistency is the only thing you need in this business. If you
Yeah.
can consistently do the proper things day in and day out, like it's inevitable that you're going to win. But just like you said, 90% of people in commission-based sales quit in the first year. And Des,
Right.
I'm really happy to say, like, I wasn't one of them and you weren't one of them. So, like,
Right.
love that.
Yeah.
And, just to kind of hit a little bit on bringing yourself back to when you had got started. And I know that that can be tough, being give or take
Yeah.
3 years in, right? You're like, man, right? But if you could bring yourself back to when you got started, what are some things that you maybe wish you had listened to a little bit earlier on, and you feel like you'd be a little bit more ahead in your eyes today?
Yeah. Man, there's a laundry list. I wasn't like the best agent. I was always good at like kind of getting guidance and listening, but I wasn't like that disciplined with my schedule. Like I remember I used to kind of clock in and then I was like, man, I'm gonna go to the gym and it's 10 o'clock. I didn't even dial. And I was one of those that like took me, I didn't dial all day. It took me all day to dial. So I had to learn a lot of hard lessons in the beginning. And I'm like, man, this thing doesn't work. And so there's a lot of things, but I would say number one is just like at the end of the day, if this is your first commission-based position, you're no longer getting paid hourly or salary. That is a huge transition, but you got to take it super seriously. So you're like your own boss. And so I always told people like, hey, at the end of the day, ask yourself, would I hire or fire myself today based on my performance? Right. And so just being consistent, because a lot of people, and I know many of you on this call right now, you probably came here because you're like, I want to work, I want to make my own hours and have a flexible schedule. But in the beginning, you have to have a very strict schedule and pour a lot of time, energy, and effort in. Then you could have that freedom you wanted, but you have to earn that because you got to get good really fast. And I'd rather put in a lot of reps early on than drag that process out. So I wasn't that disciplined. So I would say, hey, create a very disciplined schedule and hold yourself accountable. And at the end of the day, too, find an accountability partner. Like I know Heather would freaking she'll chew me out if I was like, Heather, if you're my accountability partner, you better freaking call me if I'm not, here at XYZ or whatever it is. So being super disciplined with your schedule. Number two is that you are a business owner now. You're not a W-2 mindset. You have to step into that business role. And so what does that mean? You have to treat this like a business so it could pay you like a business. And maybe some people are like, well, I don't even know what that means. Guess what? Number one is you have to invest in your business. You have to have your clientele. You have to restock your shelves, whatever analogy you want to use. This helped me a lot as an agent because someone I think sat me down and they're like, hey, you're now a business. Your inventory are your leads, and that's how you're going to make money. So you have to be consistently feeding your business or you won't make any money and it's a toxic cycle. And so the moment I knew that and it was just one big formula, I was like, holy crap, this makes a night and day difference. Buying leads every single week and following the process and being on Zoom and reading the script and just developing your skill set. But kind of like what I was having this conversation, and I know Riyadh's on the call and him and I we've partnered up. He's great. And like sometimes because we're already here, and Marisa, you've been here for a long time. So you already have the proof of concept that the hardest part for a new agent is like, if I invest this much in leads and I don't see a return that week, they think they failed. That's not how it works, guys. You have to trust in yourself and trust in the process and really lean onto people like Heather and lean onto people like Christina because it's worked for us and we're going to help you get there. But in the beginning, you suck, right? We suck. So the only way to do that, it's like you're paying that $1,000 as an investment towards the skill that's going to make you 10, 30, $40,000 down the road. Like you have really great people around like Rami, yourself. And so even though you don't have the physical proof of concept, you have to trust in the system, but you take that $1,000 investment and you do what you're told and you follow the blueprint, you're literally going to make a very high ROI down in the beginning. And so you just have to help agents look at it from a different perspective because most people go to college, right? And they'll spend hundreds, I don't even know. Put a C in the chat if you have a college degree. I have like two AA degrees and then I dropped out of nursing school and all this stuff. So many people, most of society, they're told, hey, go to school, go to school, go to school. They'll spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on tuition, right? That's an investment and they're learning and then they also invest their time because it's like a 4-year degree. You go to grad school, who knows, you might get a, you know what I mean? There's like you're trading all that investment into tuition and time, but then it's weird for you to invest in your business with $1,000 and you expect what, $60,000 that month. It's not how it works, right? So you just have to kind of help people reposition and just zoom out and look at perspective a different way, right? It's like, hey, if you Google this, like I think the average business owner, it takes them like a year to 2 years to become profitable. It's not like that in our industry, but it's not going to happen your first month, right? It might not, maybe it's going to happen your second month or your third. It's different for every person, but don't expect that you're going to get a return that first week if you're brand new. It might not even be your second week or your third week. And just remember, I have to look at this from a business owner perspective. I'm investing in myself and in my skills. I might not get a sale this week, but I learned XYZ things. Wow, I was talking to Marisa and she helped me realize that I got better with my presentation, that my tone sounding better. And so I would just say really just lean in to the process, not necessarily the result, because the result's different at your stage of business. But just like everything else, right? We know a lot of people spend thousands of dollars on tuition. You're going to spend $1,000 into a skill set that's going to make you way more money down the road. So that is key when I looked at things from a business perspective. And it takes time to develop that mindset, but it's not going to happen overnight. So just trust in yourself, trust in the people around you, and just keep going.
No doubt. And I love that because it's funny because like the next thing I was going to ask you was why do you feel like it's important for everybody to view this as a business versus a job? So you
Right.
just hit on that so hard. And guys, we all have different struggles like in the beginning. We all have different struggles a year in. We all have different struggles 5 years in. It's going to be a different type of struggle, but you're going to level up as that person, so to say. And Des, I
Right.
love how you hit on like hey, at the beginning, I was kind of like showing up at 10, and then I would be like, okay, well, I've been here for like 30 minutes. Let me hit the gym, and like, I'll probably
Yeah,
come back at 2, right? You were treating it like it might work. It's probably not going to work, right? Like, that's
right.
almost what our subconscious brain is telling us. Now, with that being said, Desiree just made so many amazing points. But first, if you don't have an accountability partner and you feel like you have to be held accountable, find one. Guys, I
Yeah.
promise you, you are not the only person that needs to be held accountable, especially in this business. Sometimes we need a good, like, hey, Marisa, where are you at? To get us really like, okay, like there's people depending on me and I'm depending on me, right? Um, Also, you're a business owner. Take inventory. Guys, I recap
Hmm.
what Des is saying because I want to make sure like this is not going in one ear and out the other. This is probably like the best call we've done in a long time, and it's extremely relatable to everybody. Your inventory is your leads. If not, it's a toxic cycle. When you
Hmm.
had said that, Des, I was like, okay, I want to like mic drop it right now, but you were ripping. Guys, if you invest into leads, you have your $1,000, it's going to be really, really difficult. It's going to be like really difficult for you to not to see some type of return on that. Now, let's just say you see a small return. Let's just say you write a policy for 30 bucks a month.
Hmm.
Understanding that that $30 a month policy that you're going to get paid in advance on needs to go back into leads is crucial. Because if not, you're going to be in that toxic cycle of the leads suck, I suck, my tone sucks. That no, what sucks is that you're not being consistent in the areas that you have to be consistent in. And
Yeah.
when, just like Des is saying, like the perspective can change from, I'm going to work a job to this is my business, you should take it personally. To be honest, like you should be taking it personally. If you're not showing up for yourself, in a way, however your brain works, like I become angry at myself in ways. I know I don't always show up 100%. I'm not perfect, but
Yeah.
I'm aware of it, right? And I'm cognizant and I'm getting better. But don't get yourself in that toxic cycle, guys. If somebody had to say, what's the one thing that you lose agents or agents lose themselves within, it's right there. That toxic cycle of I'm gonna buy leads this week, but then not the following week, and then I'm gonna blame this, and then I'm gonna freak out. It's like, no, no, no. Relax, follow the system, and if you feel like you got off the system, get with your upline, get with your mentor, and re-step it. But you can't be re-stepping it once a week. That doesn't make sense, guys.
No.
Um, and understanding in the beginning we all sucked, right? Like Des, I couldn't sell a policy to my sister, dude. Like literally, like all jokes aside. So it's like if
Yeah.
you think you suck, like I promise, like you're supposed to in the beginning. Like it would be
Right.
really weird, right? Like Des, if I started on your team tomorrow and I was like just amazing at selling life insurance and I was like, I never sold life insurance before, like you might be a little bit thrown off. Or you might be like, hey, like
Yeah.
what extra training you been doing, right? Like this is kind
Exactly.
of weird, right? Like we
Yeah.
expect you to kind of like we expect you to suck in the beginning. It's weird if you don't, guys. And everybody's going to get to a different level in a different time period. And that's the best and the worst thing about this business. To me, it's the best thing because we do have control over things such as going back to the college analogy really quick. And then I'm going to ask Des the next question. We were all willing. I was willing, at least I was. I was willing to give a state college, I don't even know, like $60,000 or whatever it was, right? To go to school to get this degree that I've literally never used. Now
Hmm.
you could be like, it's the experience. Okay, go get like, I love y'all. We can get better experiences for 60 grand. Okay. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, all agree, right? Now, we come here and we want this instant gratification. Like, we want it
Mm.
now. We want it now. Like, I came out of college, Des, and I was like, I deserve to make six figures. Like, no, I didn't. Like, let's be clear, I did not deserve
Right.
that at that time, right? Like,
Right.
I had my business degree. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so does everybody else, right? So I'm like, I need to make six figures, but it's like, no, 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 no. Like, we need to realize we're in a position here where if we treat the first 4 years of this business like college, like your undergrad, and you
Hmm.
actually are learning through the process, in 4 years, you're going to be freaking unstoppable. Like,
Right.
and you're not going to be in debt, right? Like, so just like kind of Des ended with that, and I'm investing in myself and my skill. If you're not investing in yourself and your skill, chances are you're probably not doing that good right now. The good news is you can turn it around, right?
Right.
Now, Des, you have a growing organization, you have a bunch of agents who are working well with you, and I love to see that. What are some of the expectations that you set when you're getting a new agent started?
Yeah. So, and I do this all the way from, and I've learned a lot from like you and even hopping on like the builders call and just there's so much information from our organization that's free that you can go study to get better. So it was a lot of trial and error, but in the beginning with like my interviews, I look for people who are accountable. I look for people who have a really strong mindset and who have a positive attitude. And I say this all the time, but that's why I love this industry and sales in general is that you don't need to be talented. Like you really don't, right? You just need to have a very hard work ethic, a positive attitude, and you need to be coachable. And you'll hear so many people say coachable, coachable, coachable. Those are my favorite people to work with. You don't need a great smile or to be good looking or whatever. It doesn't matter how old you are, how it's just like how hungry are you to get better and to learn, and I'm willing to work with you. So in the beginning, I kind of look for that characteristic. And not gonna lie, like I didn't, I mean, if I kind of go back to Desiree from the beginning, I probably wasn't that accountable. So sometimes if somebody hops on and maybe I interview them and they don't seem like, they're top-notch accountable, but they're willing to get better, I'll work with them. Right? It's just the willingness to get better, the desire to get better. I'm like, cool, I could work with that because I remember being that person, right? I didn't turn into this person right now, and I'm always striving to get better. But it takes time and that kind of it's just like you have that desire in your heart and you want to step into it. I'm always looking for somebody who's hungry like that. Um, but as far as expectations, I just tell people, hey, I'm not here to micromanage you. We have like a system and you'll follow it. But at the end of the day, like I kind of meet you where you're at, right? And a lot of us, I'm in Washington State right now. I'm actually eventually going to be moving to Arizona soon, but like everyone's around the country. And so we meet in our virtual office. And I just say, hey, you make a schedule, talk to your family, hop on there. Here's the script. We buy leads. And I just kind of go over that. And I kind of ask people too, like, this is a lead-based business. I only work with people who are ready to invest in themselves and into leads. And I know it could be scary, but I talk about all of that up front and I give the business analogy because it works for people and it worked for me. Like the moment someone told me that this was a business, I was like, this makes sense. I got to buy leads, right? High risk, high reward, whatever, right? There are companies there who spend millions on marketing, commercials, billboards, all that stuff. We just cut that stuff out and we have the list. We have the list. We just call the list, right? If you have a phone, you have Wi-Fi, you have a computer, you could read, you're going to do great. Now it's the rejection part, right? So I talk to people about that from the beginning. Hey, this is not going to be easy. You're going to get a lot. And I say it's mentally challenging, not physically challenging, because a lot of people quit. And I'll say, hey, Marisa, a lot of people quit because they can't stand the rejection. You will get told no more than yes. And I want to be clear with you up front. Like you might have 100 leads, but you're not like if you have 100 leads, you're not going to sell 100 policies, right? That's just like opportunity. And it's law of large numbers that you might talk to 20 and 10 of them say F off, go to hell, whatever. And then you talk to the other 10, and then you're like, okay, cool, I might have booked 5 appointments. And then 4 of them no show you, and you talk to one person and they say they already got it taken care of. That's what it looks like in a very realistic day, but you start to develop stuff over time. So I'm very upfront with like the rejection part. And I just look for people who are ready to go through that, who are ready, who are committed to wanting a career for themselves and like to actually own this like a business. Because if someone's like, I was kind of into the insurance thing. I just saw it on TikTok. It looked cool. I'm like, well, what do you want to do with it? And if they can't give me a compelling answer, I'm like, cool, I don't want to work with you. Like, let's save each other enough time. This is not a side hobby. I'm looking for people who are committed. And those are like some of the expectations that I try to upload or, front load in the beginning. And then I say stuff and I pick this up from Sean from a recent call. I'm like, yo, the first interview or the real interview is your first 30 days here. Are you going to do everything that you said to me in the beginning? Right. And I was just like, you just pick up so much great information from this community. And so that's why I love going to events. And, I could keep going on and on and on, but I've learned so much from, environment. Even though we're in different states, I learn a lot from you and from Sean and whatever. And I'm never going to pass up an event because environment's key. And I learn a lot from Heather. You know what I mean? So, yeah, very high expectations. And I kind of look at old Desiree, like new agent Desiree. I'm like, okay, what mistakes have I made that I have to let these agents know so they could avoid the time and the money I wasted in the beginning? And sometimes those are the most valuable lessons, but I'm very upfront with people about that. I say, hey, I'm going to meet you where you're at. I'm going to be your mentor or manager, whatever the heck you want to call me, but I am not going to carry you on my back to success. Like that's not what I'm here for. Like I will legit meet you where you're at, and I'm here as like, a guide. But at the end of the day, this is all on you, meaning like you're going to be showing up to the Zoom, you do all the XYZ things, and then I can help you from there. But I'm not going to be like, hey, Marisa, let's get on Zoom. Did you make your dials here? Let me help you dial. Like, it's not how it works. So I always talk about those things up front.
I love that because, when you can give somebody the worst case scenario from the beginning, it's like then when the worst case scenario happens, they're not thrown off. And that's the best part about it. I love how you talk about rejection. You talk about, hey, you might get 100 leads, 20 might tell you to fly a kite. You might talk to
Mhm.
10, book five, four no show you, one answers. They already got it taken care of. They're truly in the best situation.
Yeah.
Okay, that's going to happen. But then, there's going to be other days that are going to outweigh it. It's just about, where are you at, right? And I
Hmm.
love how you also said, like, I give a little bit of leniency. If this is somebody who I feel like, hey, they have a positive attitude, they're coachable, but maybe like, they're just not that great at being held accountable right now. But I
Hmm.
feel like I could work with them. Okay, you're willing to talk to that person. But it's like 9 out of 10 times if somebody doesn't have a positive, or 10 out of 10 times someone doesn't have a positive attitude, you're probably like, bye, like respectfully,
Yeah.
bye, not a good fit, right?
T
So
toxic cancer, get them out, get them out of here. Yeah.
Amen. Like, guys, like, we got to realize too, like, being virtual is a beautiful thing. But at the same time, whether we were in the field, no matter what, people are going to talk to people. Guys, make sure the people you're talking or rubbing elbows with, so to say, are getting a result. Don't build the cancer team. And what I mean by that is you become a large ball of cancer with a couple of people and you guys make up a whole bunch of things about that are not happening. But you're like, oh my God, that's on my leads too. Oh my God, that
Right.
happened. Someone told me earlier too, Des, that they got it taken care of. Like,
Hmm.
like let's all just talk about negative stuff, right? It's like, no,
Right.
no, no. Build yourself around people who actually want to be here and who are excited to be here. I love the first interview is your first 30 days. That's beautiful, guys. If you're bringing people in, like that's the God honest truth. Your first 30 dial days, it's like that's your first interview, really, to see what's going
Right.
to happen. Now, outside of hands-on training, maybe that's like happening in the Zoom dial rooms, things like that. What other avenues are you maybe pushing your agents towards during non-income producing hours to make sure that they're still able to take in other trainings? Is that making
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, so that's cool that you mentioned that. And I always, like in the beginning, I'll describe to somebody who's never been in like sales, like, hey, you don't get paid by the hour anymore. If you're like coming in, you're checking your emails for like 2 hours and then you pick up the phone, it's not going to make you any money. So we describe what income producing activities are, which is like literally dialing the phone, doing a presentation, talking to a client. Those are the income producing activities. So defining that from the beginning is very important and letting them know you need to do those like ASAP first thing. And then if after your first block of IPAs, cool, you could check your email and stuff. Um, and I think, like I said, that's very important. And I'm sorry, Marisa, what was your main question with that? I just was
No, you're
yeah,
good.
yeah.
So I was saying
See, I'm
outside of
human.
those
I'm human, guys. Yeah, I don't even
facts,
remember what you said.
100%. I'm like, that's the story of my life, Des. So I hear you. So like outside of essentially like that on the job training, if you will, they're
Mm,
getting kind of in the Zoom
yes,
room. Like, what else are you pointing them towards during those non-income producing hours to
yes.
make sure there is still that additional training?
Okay, that is huge. So I'm big on this. It's mindset. Like your mind, you need to be working on your mindset every freaking day. Like it is a muscle. Like you're about to run a marathon, like you're about to go compete. You're like it's every day because when you transition on, you're not going to get the immediate gratification like you hoped. Everything's not going to go as expected, and you need to be working on this thing right here because if you don't, everything's going to crumble, right? So I'm constantly telling people, hey, listen to an audio a day, a podcast a day. I don't care if it's 10 to 15 minutes. Like I was just telling some of the people that I'm working with in the office right now, like I woke up and I didn't have a great morning and I was like, okay, cool. This is normal because our mind is very negative. Like naturally we're negative by nature. And I talk about this a lot and I think I like the mechanics of it because it helps me break it down, but and I've said this before on like trainings and stuff, but I would have you write this down if you're new and maybe you need a reminder. But if we have like 60,000 thoughts a day, right, on average, it's like 50 to 60,000 depending on the human being, and like 90 to 95% of those thoughts are the same that happened yesterday. Like you're having the same exact thoughts. That's why people are in the same freaking toxic cycle. And 80% of those thoughts are just naturally negative. I know I'm up against that every day. So I have to try and get ahead of that by listening to positive things and whether it's training in FFL, which I think is very important, but listening to other influencers like, like Ed Milet or the Hermosis or other people that could I'm like priming my brain to just think positively, to have a different perspective every day because you're going to come up against things that like don't go your way, and how are you looking at that, right? So I'm training my brain to just see the positive in everything. Hey, everything happens um for me, not to me, right? Like, how could I learn this as like take this as a learning experience? And that takes time. You're not born with that. We're negative by nature. So like I had to train that early on, and that helped me so much as a new agent. Is like even though I didn't expect this, I was waking up and I was listening to an audio. Like again, this morning I woke up and I was like, whoa, I'm not liking what my brain's thinking right now. Let me just play a positive podcast in the background. And as I was getting ready and I felt good, right? Or I would start with gratitude. So I think telling agents to, hey, listen to a podcast every single day. You don't have to do that. Some podcasts are like an hour long. You don't have to listen to the full hour. Just on your drive to the office, going to the gym, just stick something positive in your head that's not your natural negative thoughts. And then also, attending like the regular trainings that FFL provides for us, like the SRS call, which is great, the builders call, these calls, Grady's call, whatever it is, listen to something that's outside of your norm because this is not your norm. You're like stepping into that role, into that profession. So I'm big on that stuff. Like anything with your mindset, anything to get you acclimated to what you're already doing and being around that positive influence. So that's kind of what I want agents to do in the beginning outside of just obviously income producing activities, but you have to get used to that and prime your brain that way.
I love that. And that's so huge because I always say, like, you can work hard on yourself or you can work hard on your work. You work hard on
Mm-hmm.
yourself, you and your work are going to reap the reward, so to say.
100%.
So I
100%.
love that. And the 60,000 thoughts a day, we're programmed to be negative, guys. It is so important to know that, like, as a human being, every single human being, every single person on here, we are programmed to be negative. Like, that's just what the brain does. It's a protective mechanism. And when you can start learning, like, I ain't a scientist over here by any stretch of the imagination. But what I have learned over the years working on my mindset is how to get things under control. Like Des said, you wake up, you don't really like what's going on up here. All right, we're going to start with some gratitude. All right, like we're going to
Mm-hmm.
start with some breathing. We're going to start with something else to get us out of that negative place. Because once you get out of that negative place and you can get your way out of there, it becomes a lot easier. Now, is it a
Right.
skill you build up? Yeah, just like everything else. But good thing is, just like Des led the call with, everything is a skill that you can learn and it's teachable. So it's just up to you to do it. So I
Right.
love that. Um, and now this is going to kind of coincide. One of the things I've always heard being in this business since, like barely like 19 years old is, you know, you have to level up to the business. You have to level up in the business to who you want to be versus who
Mm,
you are now. And I
yeah.
think that sometimes that can be really it can be confusing to people. Like, what are some of the things that you've done or had to change to make yourself better that maybe have been uncomfortable, but have allowed you to step into the next version of Des?
Right. I mean, everything, like in the beginning, everything was uncomfortable. So I started, and I know you started from this too, doing in-home. Put an H in the chat if you went in-home. Like you were knocking on people's doors, right? Right. Okay. That is like, and I tell people, like in the beginning, we'll tell new agents, like Riyadh and I will tell new agents, like, hey, we didn't have a script in front of like Bob and Mary. We were in front of them. And that forced us to get better and to study outside of that because I couldn't read a script. And the thing is, at the end of the day, like, you guys shouldn't just take that for granted and read the script for the first time with a client over the phone. You need to master this mother effing script and then have it in front of you and then still act like you know what you're doing. But we had just bullet points, and I was like, okay, I screwed that up. And I was like, oh my God, I gotta remember this process. And it helped me become a better agent. But I remember when I first started, and like, I would go, we would book appointments. I would go in home, and you're entering a trailer park, a neighborhood, a sign says, beware, there's dogs. There, I have a gun if you're trespassing. And I'm like, this is the appointment I booked. So, and I remember I was so scared sometimes to just knock on a door. And that in the beginning, it was so scary, just like building a muscle. And I was like, okay. And I would have to trick my brain. I would be like, yo, like, I'm going to count to three. We're just going to do this. Right. And I didn't want to be a coward. And I was like, and I had this big thing. And I've said it before on a lot of trainings and even like when I spoke at convention, but I had this saying and I had it written in my car. I had it written on my desk until it became embedded in me. And I was like, okay, God rewards courage. Right. And the thing that we know is that like fear is necessary to be courageous because then it's not courageous if you're not scared. So every time I was scared to do something, I would remember that like root phrase that was like my mantra for my first, I mean, I still use it to this day because we're always scared to do something. And I'm like, okay, cool. I need to act through courage because that's one of my core values. And I'm scared to knock on the door, but I have to do this. So like in the beginning, everything was scary, like calling. And then more importantly, like I said, I was just driving around. And so investing in leads was scary for me, right? So high risk, high reward. And then I started to learn like, okay, growth is on the other side of discomfort. This is all necessary to level up. So every day was a test because you're comfortable not investing in leads. You're comfortable not calling people up and skating through life, but that's not worthwhile of a life to live. We weren't made to be in our comfort zone. We were made to step out of it. So I just started to like just do things that I was scared to do. And everything was scary in the beginning, right? Now it's not that scary because we call people over the phone and I get it. It could be scary, but I'm like, yo, it could be worse. It could be a lot worse, right? So, I think just understanding when you're faced with that fear with everything that you do in life, as long as you're doing the right thing and you're listening to your mentor and you're following the game plan and the roadmap of what we have set here at Family First Life, like it's just you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just follow what's happening. It's going to be scary. When you get scared and you have fear, that's an indication that you're going down the right route, right? And then you just kind of act through it until it becomes second nature. So just push through that field of fear, and then again, it's going to become second nature. But to answer your question, everything was scary in the beginning.
So I love that. And to be honest, guys, we got to go back and reference in the home, not because, again, we didn't walk to school with 5 feet of snow in sandals. But
Hmm.
what we're saying, guys, is we were in the car going to somebody's house that might be there, right? Like they might,
Hmm.
keywords might be there. We're in different neighborhoods, just like Des said. Like I like loved the hood for whatever reason, and the hood loved me too. All right, guys. But it wasn't always comfortable to knock on people's doors. Now, with that being said, I had to play the same kind of game in my brain does. I did like the whole like, okay, I'm at my friend's house. I'm at like I would
Yeah.
picture somebody's house and then obviously like my friend didn't come downstairs, but now I got Miss Mary at the door. And in my training process, again, going back, guys, we can't be like, hi Mary. This like we can't do we couldn't have done that. So I'm like, shoes on or off, kitchen tables that way.
Right.
Okay, that's uncomfortable, but that's literally what I said every house I walked into because it became my second nature. Now, was
Yeah.
it always? No. But what I would do is I would sit down and on it, I sucked so bad, Des, that I would have to open my computer and it would have all like the notes to make sure that I was like following what I had to do. I'd be like, I'm like, people, I'm like, I don't know why I'm not closing. Like, because you're looking at the computer 30% of the time of
Yeah.
the appointment. Like they're like freaked out. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
guys, it's not that our point is not that this is necessarily easier. It's that it's different and it's direct. All
Hmm.
we're doing is calling people that literally asked for the information. Des
Hmm.
talked briefly earlier about how in real estate she would cold call, whatever she had to do she would door knock people's homes, not with a lead, guys. Like this is like it's like we are in a lead based sales position. If we
Hmm.
did not have leads, this would be a whole different call. I wouldn't even be on the call. Des probably wouldn't be on the call. A lot of y'all probably wouldn't be on the call. But we're in a leads-based position, guys, and all we're doing is calling people up. The worst thing they're going to do is hang up on us. All
Yeah.
right, next. Next is the best word you can use in this business. It's going to keep you unemotional and, at a place you have to be. And God rewards courage. I love
Hmm.
that. And nothing courageous is done without fear. And I
Right.
think that that's really important to note, guys. Like, whatever your belief system is, it's like there's always a reward there. When you're scared to do something and you do it, it might not be an immediate reward right now
Right.
today, but it will be a reward somewhere down the line. And you'll see that as you move forward in your business. That's just what it looks like. And if it doesn't, then you're probably, to be quite frank, not moving forward in your business. And
Right.
get with somebody to, get to level up, right? That's what I did. I know that's what you've done too, Des. And just to kind of wrap it up, I got two last questions for you. One, you hit on a little bit, but I always see you at the events. I always go to the events. Why do you go to the events? Why do you make it a point, Des?
Geez, I environment is key. And I just talked to an agent about this today. And I don't know if you guys know this study. And like Hermosi's talked about it a lot, but they were talking about during the Vietnam War. Um, I think it was, and I could butcher this, but like 30% of veterans who were in Vietnam were like using cocaine because it was all over the place, right? So when they came back from war, the United States was worried that, oh my gosh, these people are going to be addicted. And I think the 30% that used it, only 2% remained addicted, which was a staggering statistic because it's such a highly addictive drug, obviously. But the thing is, what they realized is that they were in an environment using this drug. The moment they changed their environment, they weren't like addicted to it. They just needed a change of scenery. So the fastest way to change your results, if you're stuck in the same loophole and nothing's working, you're like, oh my gosh, move, move to a different area. You don't have to move across the state. Like you could move to a different part of your town and get in a different environment. But here in our industry, because a lot of it's virtual, and thank goodness, we could hop on screen and we could talk and do this meeting stuff. You got to get in person. There's something about being in an environment with other people with the same like-minded goals as you. That energy, energy transfers. That's a legitimate thing. I don't care what people say. Like energy is a real thing. So when you get in person, and you're searching for getting better and you come with a positive mindset and you meet these people, these amazing people, your life will change just by getting to a different environment around like-minded people. Right. So that's the biggest like cheat code you could freaking do for yourself is getting in person around people who are crushing it and being open-minded and asking them questions. And again, if you go to this event, don't sit in the back, sit in the freaking front. I'm always in line, like not fighting people, but I'm like, yo, I'm gonna run to the front because I want to soak everything in. If I invested to go to this event, why would I sit in the back? Why would I take a longer lunch and miss the first 10 minutes of the next segment? You know what I mean? So I started to take my business seriously and I started to see how powerful an in-person event was. And it wasn't until my very first convention. And that's why I tell people annual conference is so important, which is great because now we do like two other conferences. We do two ignites throughout the year. I think our next one's in Florida, August 2nd. You guys better start planning for that. And I'm telling you, you might look at the plane ticket like, oh my gosh, I have to spend 500, $600 to go to this event. The event's free, right? But that 500, $600 or whatever you're spending for the Airbnb, that is a huge investment that will 10x a return on wherever you are in your business because people are on stage giving you free information. But more importantly, you're getting to see real life people on stage. And that's when, for me, I was like, dude, if that guy could do it, I could do it. Right. And it
Yeah.
instilled belief in me that these are just normal human beings working really hard, believing in themselves, and they have this result. So I could go on and on about in-person events, but I promise you I would not be here if I didn't go to my first in-person event, my first 90 days. So
I love that.
yeah. Hmm.
And that's huge because like Des, when I do see you at the events, like you're not just like sitting in the front row. You're like, I have my seat in the front row with my bag and my blazer on it, so nobody takes my seat. And
Hmm.
I'm talking to other people to soak in everything I can. I have questions
Yes,
prepared. Like when you go into an event prepared, it's a game changer. When you go
it
into an
is.
event with, hey, I have these 3 or 5 things that I really want to have answers to, and I really want to ask these people these questions, that's when it's fun, guys. That's when it
Right.
makes sense. The only way you can walk out an event that didn't make sense is because you didn't go there prepared. You didn't go
Right.
there to talk to people. You sat in the back. You were doing your own thing. You kept to yourself. You didn't say hi to anybody. You wanted to be left alone. Like you just flew across the country, or I don't care if you just drove 30 minutes. Either way, it's like you got to the event. Be at the event. Be where your feet are, truly.
Yeah.
And above that, changing your environment. I
Mm.
can't speak to this so many different times. There were times in my life throughout this industry that I would move different places in hopes that that would fix certain things. Now, what I
Yeah.
will say is it didn't necessarily fix my personal life, Des, but that's my job to fix that, right? However, what it did do was it put me in an environment to excel in the business, which in turn, if I was excelling in the business, I was probably excelling with my mindset. Therefore, I was able to have better conversations with the people who were around me. I was able to create a better and a stronger environment. So sometimes we simply need that change of environment. So get to the event. It's going to be out in West Palm Beach, October the 2nd, I believe.
Second.
And I
Yeah.
will have that out on there. I believe it's October 2nd. I'm like, I don't know, but it's coming up, guys. We literally have 3 months, okay? Like 90, 89 days from today, guys. Like
Yeah.
find your excuse or get yourself there. It's a free event. Get yourself there. Um, but outside of that, Des, thank you so much for everything. You killed this call. But what are your goals wrapping up 2025? Whether that's, a business goal, personal goal, or both?
Yeah, I'm gonna hit Hall of Fame. I'm saying that right now. I've been saying that, but I'm gonna hit it this year. And Riyadh's been a great accountability partner. We're holding each other accountable and just freaking growing the team. I think it's one thing like, and I'll say this too because one of my biggest regrets, and you'll hear so many people say this, and they say it for a reason for everybody that's listening. And if you haven't started, but one of my biggest regrets is I didn't start building right away. Like I was one of those that was like a secret agent. I was like, oh, I gotta figure it out for myself and all this other stuff. And again, that's a big like misconception because your success isn't going to be correlated to your team's success in a way, right? Because it's an independent business, they could follow the blueprint and do better than you. And you're changing their entire life by just sharing it. You don't have to have a great elevator pitch. It's like, hey, just tell people what you're doing. They might want to do it. Show, plug them into the system. Marisa could help you. And then now they're selling and boom, there you go. You change somebody's life. But naturally, we're in an industry that like, great, I'm really good at personal sales, but now I want to be an insurance salesperson forever? No, right? And the way to build passive income is by building a team, but it's not even just the money. It's like you're changing other people's lives. So that is a huge thing. So just growing the team and I've learned a lot, like, there's different personality types. There's, you're working on your production and then you're like trying to train. And so it helps you become a more well-rounded person as well. So I'm very excited about how much I've grown focusing on that, but also focusing on myself and then pouring into other people as well. I love this industry. So I thank you so much for even thinking about me. I'm very honored to be on this call. But I'm excited to see you guys all at the event soon. But yeah, that's my biggest goal right there.
Hey, well, I'm rooting for you, Des. I know you'll hit Hall of Fame. I'm definitely not betting against you, that's for sure. Especially having an accountability partner like Riyadh. I know y'all will get that done. And also, just like you said, change by sharing. I love that. Change by sharing. All we're doing is sharing an opportunity. It's a transit. We're following a system. Somebody else very well might be able to follow it a lot better than us. So guys, give that opportunity because a lot of us on here, if we didn't have this opportunity, we'd be in a really tough place. So